This isn't a video that anyone asked for, though I hope you'll find it's a video that you need. To be successful as a defendant requires authenticity. And to the extent that I can always be authentic, I will. In this video, a live video, I'm going to address some painful truths of confronting federal charges. And to be authentic and honest, let me make clear, I didn't do a lot of these things. Indeed, I would have served a longer federal prison sentence than do some of these things. I believed, because I had a degree from USC, and I had made a lot of money and worked at firms like interned at Goldman Sachs, worked at Bear Stearns, and then Merrill Lynch. I will be honest, I thought some things were beneath me. I thought some work was beneath me. And I was so concerned about what other people would think that I wouldn't do it. Indeed, I would say I would rather have served a longer federal prison sentence. And I know I'm not alone. So everything I cover in this video is rooted in experience from attending many sentencing hearings, from spending time in federal prison. And of course, our team at White Collar Advice has personally worked with thousands of defendants traversing the system. And so many of those defendants, of course, reach out and say, I wish that I had done more to prepare. With our growing influence on YouTube and TikTok, more people continue to reach out and share their cautionary tale. And they encourage me to share it with you with hopes that you'll benefit. Indeed, it can be very cathartic for some to talk about their story. And they encourage me to use this platform. To our platform, we're grateful and thankful that you are here. And if you would consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, whatever it is, but only if you find value in this video. So thank you. One thing that defendants don't do, and they should do, something that I wouldn't have done, is embrace the reality of starting over. Embracing the reality, as I wrote in this blog at White Collar Advice that I'm using as a tool for this live video, reluctance to work a minimum wage job or a job beneath their skill set. Failing to build a new record as a law-abiding citizen suggests an inability to earn money lawfully. Now, when I got into trouble, I didn't think I'd done anything that wrong. I certainly didn't think it should warrant imprisonment, and I didn't consider the stakeholders, namely, they now viewed me as a criminal, not as a former student athlete from USC, or as a stockbroker, or as a son, or someone who had volunteered in my community, but rather someone who created victims. It took me a long time to embrace the way they viewed me. Therefore, when someone told me to get a job, I'm like, are you like insane? Are you crazy? Like, hi, I have a degree from USC. Like, I played baseball there. Like, my friend's playing the major leagues right now, and I've been on private jets. I'm going to go pick up phones or like wait tables. No, no, no. Like, no, no, no. That's beneath me. Justin doesn't do that. I've hired big time lawyers, former US attorneys at Jones Day. Like, I don't really think you understand what's happening. So to insinuate that I should start over and get a job when I'm kind of the fall guy here, like, you don't really get it, and you're not really on my team if you're saying that to me. I wish good friends who loved and supported me would have done one step further and like done a right hook across the face and said, dude, you don't get it. We love you, but you are making decisions that are going to lead to a longer federal prison sentence. And guess what? Even if they had done that, you know what I would have said? I don't care, because I ain't doing a minimum wage job. And it wasn't until I went to federal prison that I realized how foolish and naive and dumb and entitled and privileged and effing stupid I was to once think that. And I learned when I came home and picked up phones for $15 an hour in the halfway house, indeed, all work is honorable. I wish that had hit me the 15th of December, 2004, when I learned that I was the target of a federal investigation. If you are involved in this system and you want the shortest sentence possible, work. I don't care if it is beneath your skill set. Work. You have got to build a new career as a law-abiding citizen and demonstrate to these stakeholders, the judge, the probation officer, the prosecutor, why you are worthy of leniency. And the only way you can demonstrate why you are worthy of leniency is by beginning to earn money as a law-abiding citizen. I know people who have cooperated extensively, helped bring down 5, 10, 12 people, looking at 5 years, and they presume they're going to get probation. And as I will address in this live video in a little bit, the judge still gives them 18 months. You want to know why? You know what the judge says? Yeah, you cooperated. It's a big deal, and I'm going to give you credit. But I think you cooperated only because you didn't want to go to prison. You haven't really demonstrated beyond that why you're worthy of leniency. That's when many people call us and say, I would have a do-over if I could, but they do not exist in life. Work, 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 or be like me, don't work and embrace the reality you're just going to get a longer federal prison sentence. The only reason I didn't was because my co-defendant got indicted on new charges. So everything he had said against me and others, they had to rip up. And the Securities and Exchange Commission gave me a second chance at veracity. I got a huge break. Odds are you are not going to get that huge break. Number two, anyone ever like begun to compliment you, but then the insults are coming, or they want to share something with you and they say, however, but, and then you know bad things are coming, or excuses? are coming. A number of defendants open up the right way and say, I identify with victims. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't have bad intentions. However, but, and then it's all about me. So many defendants try to embrace the reality they created victims, but they can't because half the time they don't even know what they did. And when they try to embrace and own what they did, it's usually full of rationalizations because they haven't really invested the time to tell their their story. If you make it all about you, as I wrote here, empathy, remorse, and understanding the government's perspective are vital considerations during sentencing. Consider the case of Sarah, who embezzled $280,000 from her employer. Despite the severity of her charges, Sarah constantly focused on how her own life was imploding. She got the 3 points for acceptance of responsibility because she said she was sorry, but the probation officer, nor the probation officer, the prosecutor, or judge were never really convinced that she had demonstrated real remorse. If you make it about you, you're going to get a longer federal prison sentence. Now, if you struggle to identify with the victims, or if you created them and it's difficult for you to say, I'm sorry, that's fine. And if I lose a follower or subscriber over this, that's fine. I just want you to own it. It is nothing more than a value play. Let me be clear. It is of higher value for you to rationalize and excuse and focus on yourself than identify with the people that you hurt. Value play may make you feel better, and you may have people placate you as they placated me and told me what I wanted to hear for a while. That's cool. Embrace the reality, the truth that if you've been indicted or arrested for federal charges, a longer federal prison sentence is coming. If you make it all about you, you're in trouble. Embrace the reality. Like, I'm a white, privileged, really rich kid from the hills of Encino. Do you really think the government cared about me or cares about me? Do you think they're out to correct me? Of course not. And of course, I didn't understand this till I went to federal prison, and I'm sitting along Michael Santos, my partner, who's helping me understand the collateral consequences of mass incarceration, how so many of the people inside of this prison didn't have opportunities that I squandered and wasted. So do better, learn more. To that end, go to prisonprofessorstalent.com to learn more about the ways we're helping people document and build a record while in prison to prepare for what can be the hardest part, life after federal prison. If you make it all about you, or you were going to make it all about you, you're going to get punished. Number 3, lavish spending before and after sentencing hearing. Of course, some defendants do foolish things like transfer title out of their home, move money. And I'm not insinuating that you cannot spend or invest while in the pretrial stage. Someone in our community, an entrepreneur who's facing a sentencing hearing probably next year, he's about to make a 6-figure investment in a business. He's an entrepreneur, totally legitimate. And guess what? He still owes restitution, but this is his life. This is what he does as an investor. He's allowed to do it, but he's not flushing the money down the toilet. So some people think, oh, should I not hire a lawyer? Should I not do this? Should I not do that? Are they going to punish or fillet me for it? What I'm referring to is spending beyond your means without considering how the court would consider those investments. Not even investment, that spending. Years ago, we had a chiropractor in Arizona who was facing a very short sentence, like small sentence. But during the pre-trial stage, after he sat for the probation interview, he leased a Tesla. Fine. Then he bought a new home. Wow. What do you do? What do they do when you buy a new home? The probation officer and pretrial services officer are going to come out and do a look around and walk around and look. Wow, you have a beautiful home. Well, this is like kind of interesting. Like, you owe $240,000 in restitution. I guess you're going to make a $20,000 or $30,000 payment. It's already in your lawyer's trust account. Yet you bought a new Tesla, a big home. Certainly have a nice watch on. Also a member of that country club too. That's pretty nice. So they're living without understanding that government stakeholders are going to offer a perception of how these people are spending lavishly. And guess what happens at a sentencing hearing? You may have a probation officer going through the financial records and saying, Your Honor, he did accept responsibility and he did make a payment and he didn't make the government waste a whole lot of time. He accepted responsibility early and pled. But I'd also like you to know, like, he's leasing a Tesla and he bought a new home and he identifies with victims, yet he apparently had the cash to make them whole and he chose not to. And what should have been like 3 months, 6 months, maybe home detention was an 18-month federal prison sentence, which made it harder to keep his license, led to a longer term on federal probation. And worst of all, he had young children. He served time in federal prison. Lavish spending both before and after prison. After prison could be a whole separate video that I could film. But if you owe money and you are spending lavishly and not putting some of that money aside for victims as much as you have relative to what you make, then you're going to get a longer federal prison sentence than you should. Another reality of a federal charge, and this comes up a lot: wasting time and sharing no vision for the future. As I wrote, failing to articulate a path away from criminal behavior raises doubts about the likelihood of reoffending. Think about that for a moment. People presume, oh, it's a white collar crime. I've moved into a new industry. I'm never going to do this again. Clearly, if I was really a criminal, like I'd be in custody right now. They're letting me out pre-trial, no conditions of my bond. I can travel. So there's this mistaken belief that the government really isn't watching them because they're not in custody, but kind of like a case manager in federal prison might know that you're not working and that case manager might not say anything to you. They always know. And it's stunning to me, including some people who attend our weekly webinar every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's free, who will attend the webinar and then do nothing else with their day. There's a case manager in prison who attends our webinars who reached out to me to say, I met people on the webinar who are now in prison. They didn't do the release plan. They've done very little to document how they're going to make amends. They are showing no clear path moving forward, both in prison and after. And I have to ask you, if they're on the webinar, why aren't they doing anything? Good question. Many of us know what to do and we don't actually do anything. And I empathize with you because I was that defendant. I would not have attended our webinar. Let me be really clear. That's the big negativo, as my brother likes to say. I'm attending a webinar with a bunch of people indicted for white collar crimes. In my mind, they all did worse than me, led by someone like me or my partner, Michael Santos, who served 26 years in prison. I ain't associating with no drug offender. Indeed, my mom sent me Michael's blogs before I went to prison. You know where they went? In the round file. I'm not reading and learning from a guy that served 26 years in prison. Have a nice day. It's the reason if my co-defendant didn't get indicted, my dumbass would have served 4 years in jail instead of 18 months. I got a break. You most likely are not going to get the break. So you can avoid all of these things and get a longer federal prison term, or hope for the Hail Mary that I got. Or you can take action and recognize if you are wasting time, you are going to get punished. You need to work every single day, as Judge Pearson told us in a video, and I spoke with her on stage, to create a new record, to demonstrate why you were worthy of leniency. You can outsource some of that mitigation work to lawyers and so on. But if you aren't working, if you aren't creating, if you aren't building a new record, which is why you should go to prisonprofessorstalent.com, create a profile, begin, it's free. Begin building a profile today. Share it with your network, with your family. You'll eventually add it to your release plan and give it to your case manager. But if you are not doing the work, you are going to be one of the myriad people that call our team daily to say, I was expecting a better sentence, or like, I don't really know what happened. I hire good lawyers from Jones Day and like O'Melveny E. Myers. I paid them a lot of money. Like, what happened? And when we begin to reverse engineer what happens, it's pretty clear. Plus, if you're wasting time and you're not creating a real vision for the future, like you might as well just go to prison right now and get credit for time served, because I know all of you think about it 24 hours a day anyway. You already feel like you are in prison. At least I know I did. I would set myself up like in my man cave. I would eat the In-N-Out burger, the chewing tobacco. Anytime I got some bad news, I'd pull down the blinds and watch golf, shut myself out from the world. Had no ability to manage this adversity that I had created. In retrospect, you know what I wish they had done? Sent me to jail so I can get the credit for it. So if you're not going to offer a vision for the future, and if you're going to spend your time wasting days, wasting time, then just like go in and like get started. That's kind of my thoughts, at least. Few more here. Insufficient mitigating circumstances. It's stunning to me how many defendants go to a sentencing hearing or a probation interview and they are unable to articulate the mitigating circumstances that are part of their case. What are these mitigating circumstances? There are so many, but they could include, have you paid back some of the money? If so, how? Were you swept into this offense? Were you the leader, the organizer, or did someone bring you in? What are the real mitigating circumstances? Did you actually have an actual business and then things went rogue? Or own it. If you started out to steal from people, they're going to find out. You've got to be authentic. Are you a drug addict? Are you in counseling? If you are addicted to gambling, are you going to treatment? If you are not articulating the mitigating factors, then you are going to get a longer federal prison sentence. And you need to do that work. Years ago, when I was with our client and great guy, Jerry Lundergan in Kentucky, I filmed a video in the Kentucky airport on the way back about a defendant who called and said, my lawyer wants me to drop 10 grand on a lawyer with a gambling expert. What should I do? And I'm like, well, are you reformed? He's like, I don't gamble anymore, man. I go to treatment like 3 days a week. And I said, I'm not averse to the letter if it's an expert who can articulate that you can no longer gamble. But you know what's more valuable as a mitigating factor? You writing a letter and you documenting how you have overcome your gambling addiction going 3 times a week. He's like, yeah, I've done the work. I don't need to pay someone to do it. I'm authentic. I have the evidence that I've done it. So I'm like, aha, that is advocacy. That is mitigation. So we're not averse to experts. What I am conveying to you is whether our team helps you or if you have the skill set to do it on your own, do it immediately. Articulate, lay out the mitigating factors that should start with if you created victims, how you empathize with them, and what you are doing to make them whole. Continuing on, we talk about the long-term impact of a federal charge. Look, even after you serve your federal prison sentence, the stigma persists. It's here for a while. It's here for a lifetime. There are dudes in federal prison who said, I would rather serve an extra 2 or 3 years to not have to deal with the lifelong stigma that accompanies a federal charge. So it just makes sense right now that you know like what's coming. You've already endured a lot. And as Michael Santos and I wrote it in the epilogue of Lessons from Prison, more to come. More to come. Just embrace it. Yet at this point, if you've endured so much, rather than it felt like this adversity is so you can't get up, you can't sleep, you can't breathe. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to get out of bed. What else is here? You've got to kind of embrace it. You can't resent it. You've got to embrace that it's coming. I know the reputational aspect that follows and the losing of licenses and businesses. And I know that some people may mock as they mock me, my measly 18-month sentence in a minimum security camp. It was easy. Be clear. Had it pretty good. That was a joke. The hardest part is life before and coming home with a sullied reputation. So the value of this blog or live video, I hope, if you're traversing the system, is understanding how all of these are tied together. The long-term impact of a federal charge is devastating. I know that. But if you can begin to do the work today by working, even if it's at a skill set, a job beneath your skill set, even if you got to pick up phones, drive for Uber, deliver food, even if it's beneath your skill set, you begin to build a new record. And as Michael Santos liked to say to me, hey, dude, it's all part of the journey. I wish I had started doing this the 15th of December, 2004. Instead, I didn't start till I went to prison 3.5 years later, and I wasted those years of my life. In fact, I would have tuned out from this video the second I saw it if I was even on YouTube then, because I'd have been like, I don't need some crooked criminal stockbroker from UBS and Bear Stearns offering me advice on what to do in prison. I'm not him. I'm different. I'm special. I ain't picking up phones or waiting tables. Have a nice day. I'd have unsubscribed. And some people feel that way. That's okay. Just own what comes. But I know it's a lifelong stigma, which goes to the next aspect of it, the social stigma. It's there, but you can choose how you want to overcome it. Now, some people could care less, and that's fine. But some people who need to recalibrate and build, I would encourage you to embrace this stigma, kind of own it. This DOJ press release is there for a while. I was fortunate when I came home from prison, and Frank Abagnale from Catch Me If You Can read some blogs, watched a presentation I did, sent me a letter that said, there are always going to be people that castigate you as an inveterate criminal and scum, and that's okay. Focus on what you can control. The same message that Michael Santos taught me in prison. Build a record. Prove worthy of the love and support of your family. But that stigma is there forever. But I would argue the stigma isn't as bad as you continuing to make bad choices. It's one thing as a human being to make a bad choice, yet so many defendants who will watch this now or will eventually watch it continue to make bad choices, right? So you have the crime, then you continue to do really dumb things like not work, waste your days away, not embrace the reality that this is a lifelong stigma and shame, not really contemplate right now the long-term implications for you and your family of this crime. So you just sort of like sit here and do nothing, which is why if you're going to do that, you should go to prison right now and at least get credit for the time served. So I want you to embrace the reality of the stigma and of course the loss of privacy. It's very difficult to see the DOJ issue these press releases all over the world castigating you as scum, as a criminal. You can run from it. You might not care. I did, because at 33, without a wife and children and a career, I had to rebuild. And to do that, I had to own my story. So the media called me. They may call you. Some showed up at my home to want to interview me about my case. Can't change that. It's all over the internet for the world to see. But I know all of you don't agree with this narrative. I know you don't agree with the stigma they're putting out there. So you can begin to change it. You can own it. And you can invest the time daily, incrementally, or as we again wrote in Lessons from Prison, slow and steady wins the race. Tortoise in the hare. It's the work every single day on days that you don't want to do it that are going to enable you to get the outcome that you want. But you've got to embrace these things as they're coming. And that's all I have today. That's how I'm gonna wrap it up. And I'll close with how I open. Nobody asked me to film this video, though. I hope it's a video you need to get you going on the right track. And I'll close with how I open. I want to be authentic. I would not have done these. I did not do these things when I was a defendant. I got really, really lucky. I got really lucky. I got really lucky to get a short sentence. I got really lucky to go to federal prison, randomly go to Taft Federal Prison Camp because my co-defendant got sentenced to Lompoc. I got Taft. I got really lucky to meet Michael Santos, who had been in for 22 years. I got really lucky that he began to guide me. I was lost. I was confused. I had no idea what to do. There were some days in a quiet room in federal prison, I would sit and stare at the wall for 6 hours, and he'd say, "Bud, what are you doing?" And I'd say, "I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what to write. I have no idea what to do next. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do with my life. This is brutal. This is awful. This is a lifelong sentence. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I wish I had started sooner. I want all of you to start sooner right now. You're not going to serve time with Michael Santos in federal prison, but you can get his tutelage. You can get his mentorship in the way that I did, and it's all free. Go to prisonprofessors.com to read his work. Go to Prison Professor's Talent to read his daily journal. Till this day, every day he writes a lengthy journal about what he's doing to prepare, what he's doing to succeed, what he's doing to help overcome this really wretched criminal justice system, what we're doing on prison reform. You might have read that Governor DeSantis wants to repeal the First Step Act because he feels like it's a get out of jail card. Even Trump, who signed the First Step Act, said like drug dealers should be executed. Good God, man. So we believe in reform, and we actually believe more reforms are coming. We know the First Step Act passed in 2018, and I know Michael Santos was writing about it in 2008. I was alongside him in his book, Earning Freedom, that talks about incentivizing excellence. We help pave the way for these laws that are changing, and we believe more are coming. But in order to benefit, you've got to put yourself in the perspective of the government. How do they see you? They don't care about you. They don't. They don't. Got to embrace that. You got to own that. Create a realistic message. Put yourself in their shoes. Only then are you in a position to overcome this system, overcome the very difficult odds that follow for everyone embraced in a white collar or any type crime investigation. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment only if you find value in this video. Be well. I'll return soon. Goodbye.